our breasts, especially for a woman, is like the most powerful direct portal to your heart. And if you're putting this
plastic, silicone,
you're creating separation.
I've always been like, man, it'd be nice to have implants, but something always stopped me. Just never pulled the trigger. I've even been offered free boobs, but I do firmly believe that like God is the greatest artist of all time. Why would I alter God's masterpiece?
Young women, like they need role models. They need models of beauty, success that aren't traditional.
This is why I love Rihanna. I love that Rihanna never changed a thing about herself. When she gained weight, she gained weight. When she was skinny, she was skinny. After she had her 2 babies, she didn't decide to get implants or a boob lift. My Pisces sister, if you're watching this, like, I hope to meet you and be your friend one day.
Just like that.
We're here.
I want to start off by just sharing. I think I first met you like a year ago at the Standard.
Yeah.
Briefly.
Love that place.
And then I got a message from you a couple weeks ago just asking if you could come and pick up a little medicine. And I was just like, I was really happy to see your message. And I was like, dope, amazing. And we just connected briefly for 5 or 10 minutes. And, you know, I really believe that like God and universe just works in beautiful, mysterious ways, just aligning the right people at the right time. Mm-hmm. And now you're here on the podcast.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, a few people have asked me to be on podcasts this year, and I've been kind of like really reluctant to take part. I've just been wanting to really take this season to go inward, honestly. But yeah, it just feels right, you know? So I'm happy to be here. I feel like you're always emitting great positive vibes, and I like the message that you know, that you're dedicated to sharing with your audience, and I'm happy to be here, happy to be a part of that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. So the last year you said has been like this inward journey, really going all in on your healing and making yourself a priority. I'm curious to know, like, what is the biggest theme that has been coming up for you this past year, whether it's like childhood traumas, emotional wounds, boundaries?
I know what it is immediately. Yeah, it's just like learning how to set boundaries for myself, with friends, with family, with, you know, work, career-wise specifically. I've never really been good at that. Like, I'm YesJulz's. I named myself that. I manifested that I would be the girl that people say yes to and that I say yes to people. And so learning how to say no has been like an ongoing journey that I've been working on for quite some time now. I often overextend and feel underappreciated, and it just became like a cycle that I was ready to break. And so I think if you don't take those steps to break those cycles on your own, the universe will just give you a big whack and something will happen that'll kind of just like send you into a cave and make the decision to go inward. And that kind of happened to me this year in many ways. And so I said, all right, God, like, all right, you take the wheel. I'm just going to chill. I'm not going to start any new projects. I'm not going to start any new friendships, relationships. I'm not going to collaborate with anyone on anything. And for me, this is like the hardest thing ever, because I am naturally waking up, bursting with energy and ideas, wanting to collaborate, wanting to make myself of service, wanting to start new projects. I'm lying. I did start a rollerblade club.
In Miami?
Yeah. We're actually going to be rollerblading on the 30th if you want to join. It'll be really fun on the boardwalk. We're allowing men to join us this time. Last time it was all girls. But that's something that I've been wanting to do for like a decade. And it's something that gets me moving my body and like really provides me joy in this time. So I was like, you know, it's a low lift. I'll do that. But of course I started an Instagram and made a whole capsule collection for it that we're dropping next week. So it's very, very hard for me not to work. Like, it is like my favorite thing to do. I had to stop myself from wearing a Never Not Working t-shirt to this podcast because I didn't want to make that like the whole discussion, you know, but I've kind of like put a spin on my trademark, Never Not Working. And right now I'm never not working on myself, you know?
I love that.
And yeah, that's physically, mentally, spiritually, You know, I'm just like really proud to say that, you know, I noticed today I went to go send a video to a friend of mine. I noticed that my mom is the first person that comes up on my Instagram when I go to share. You know, it shows you like your most frequent people that you engage with. And that wouldn't have been the case a year ago or even like 6 months ago, right? So I'm in a space where I see and speak to my family more than anyone else. And that's something I'm very proud of. You know, we always say we want to make more time to spend with our parents as we get older, and rarely do we ever like really take that step to do it. And I'm an all in, all out kind of gal. So it's like if I'm working and dating and having fun with friends, like I'm there and I have no room for anything else really. And so this era that I'm in, this chapter that I'm in right now, I'm like, nope, not going on dates. Nope, not traveling unless it's absolutely necessary. Like, nope, not taking on this project. I'm focused on being at home, cooking, learning new recipes, spending time with my family. Like, I never cooked. Like, my mom is shocked. She thought it was going to be a phase. It's been months now. She has to beg me to just like order in now. And I'm like the ultimate Uber Eats girl. I went from having, if you look at my Uber Eats history, it's disgusting. It is very bad.
Lots of Carrot Express.
No, I love Carrot Express. That's not bad. But yes, but like, and I don't want to shun and I don't want to like put anybody down or put any businesses down, but a big part of our mood does come from gut health. A big part of healing and solving depression, ADHD, you know, whether you believe it or not, I'm a living testament. I can say this wholeheartedly. I have had ADHD my entire life. I've been prescribed Adderall and Vyvanse and you name it. I've tried all the different versions of pharmaceuticals that could help me be focused over the past 15 years. And I am extremely focused and extremely balanced right now without that medication. I cut cold turkey. I went to a detox retreat called We Care Spa in Palm Springs. It was like an all liquid detox for just 5 days. I did colonics, I did castor oil wraps, I saw a shaman, I did all these modalities, biofeedback tests, etc. And I learned that I'm intolerant to all these different foods, that I had heavy metals, that I have parasites, don't we all, right? That I have black mold in my body. And I was like, oh my God, if I would have just kept working, like this needed to happen to me. Like I needed to be fired publicly in front of the whole world by my favorite artist of all time, so that I could take a step back and say, I'm going to go to this detox retreat and just prioritize myself for a few days. And I'm going to go ahead and look into what's going on with my body and my moods. And then, wow, I went home and guess what? I had insane amounts of black mold in the house that I moved into in January.
Wow.
And my mother, who is a liver transplantee, my daughter, who was in the NICU for the first month of her life, and myself and my father were living in this black mold. And I was thinking I was so tired and groggy and my eyes were puffy because I was just sad and overworked at Easy or whatever it was that I was going through in life. But that may have been a aiding factor to those things, those symptoms. But I was living in terrible black mold that could have become deadly had I not taken this biofeedback test and gotten an entirely new AC unit. And so, yeah, it's just really important to like I will never go another year without doing a detox like that again. I promise myself I'm going to once or twice a year if I can, once minimum, twice if I can, do a detox. Doesn't have to be the same one. I could try different ones, whatever. And that I'm cutting out, like going back to the story about Uber Eats. I was Uber Eating my favorite Popeyes. I love you. If you're listening to this, I love Popeye's chicken so much. But, you know, having it everything in moderation, right? I was having it 3 days a week. Like,
for real?
That's just like, you know, as somebody who wants to look how I look for a long time and be healthy and lead by example for my family, it's just, those aren't the decisions I want to be making. So I had to cut everything cold turkey. Like for months, I was no dairy. I just started eating dairy and stuff again on this New York trip, but no dairy, no gluten, no wheat, no sugar that didn't come from a fruit, etc. And yeah, I haven't drank alcohol. I haven't smoked weed. I haven't taken Adderall since August 20th. And as somebody who smokes a lot of weed and has been on Adderall for so long and enjoys a good spicy margarita when I'm out with my friends, like I'm really proud of myself for that. There has been peer pressure from my friends. Oh, come on. Like you've already been good for a few months, whatever. And it's not like I ever had a problem. Like you don't overdose from smoking weed, which was my drug of choice. And there's nothing wrong with weed. It's just about like setting boundaries. And if I can set boundaries with myself, then I can be better with setting boundaries with others. And me being able to stick to this consistently and set those boundaries has really allowed me to do the same with others. And so like, I feel like now I can demand my worth without question, without hesitation. Now I can say, you know what, this project's not for me. This friend is not for me. This man is not for me. I'm not even going to waste my time dabbling and building a friendship with them, because time is so precious. And I spent a lot of it away from my daughter over the past year, working, trying to build a life where she'll never need anything financially. And like, that's not what's most important. Like, I'd rather live in a smaller house. Maybe she won't take as many extracurricular activities, but I can be present and kick the soccer ball around with her myself. And I can, sing songs with her and teach myself the piano and teach her instead of, you know what I mean? Luckily, I'm blessed and I won't have to make these sacrifices. She'll be able to take all the extracurricular activities she needs.
Yeah.
But I say all that to say, like, if it does come down to it and I have to continue turning down opportunities to make money, to stay firm with those boundaries and only align myself with things that make me feel good and proud right now, then, so be it. Like, I'll make those sacrifices, which are really important. And like, I've always been really proud of my accomplishments, but I can't say that I've always been really proud of myself.
That's a huge difference too. I think a lot of people can probably resonate with that.
Yeah. Like, oh, cool. I bought my parents a house, but how much time have I been able to spend with them in it? Or, I've been the financial provider for many people, but have I been present with them in the moments that I do spend time? Am I on my phone? Am I agitated? Am I tired? Like, I would go home for the holidays and sleep because I was so tired from just working all the time that the moment that I was home for Christmas Eve or Christmas, like, I might as well have not even been there, And now I can say, like, that's not the case. When I hang out with my family and my friends are complimenting me. Wow, Jules, like, you're so much more present. I've noticed a change in you. It's really great to be your friend and like have you here with me again. It's been quite like maybe 5 years or so, because it's been quite the rocky journey for me since maybe like 2018. So, I'm like, now I'm happy to just say I'm very proud of myself. I'm proud of who I am. And I think that's like the most important thing in life.
That's an amazing space to be. And thank you for just carrying this podcast,
I'm like,
by the way.
You don't have to ask me any questions.
Like, literally, the podcast before this was quite the opposite with my boy. So I'm really grateful that you can just really channel and flow. And that's a gift. That's a gift when you're able to just, from stream of consciousness, just speak your truth openly. And it's actually a reflection of the work that you've been doing to be able to just speak from your heart and not have to be in your head and just be fully present. And that's one of the reasons I love doing podcasts, is because it really just allows us to connect in a more meaningful way. And our phones are not attached to us.
Yeah.
And I think when I look back at the way I was brought up, my parents are still together after 47 years.
That's amazing.
It's crazy, right? But the greatest gift that they gave me when I was growing up was their presence. Like my mom, for sure, just always being there to support in every way. And then my dad, who was super busy as a doctor, but like the little moments that he created to just connect with me, whether it was like a couple days a week driving me to school or taking me to practice or dinners, just those opportunities to connect where I really felt his presence. That's the most meaningful thing we can give anyone, especially our children.
100%.
And the thing that you mentioned about Popeyes and mental health, it's so crazy how, and maybe this is true for you too, like it's so common for people to use food as this comfort when we're feeling like shit.
But it's what's making us feel like shit.
Exactly. Like 90% of our serotonin is produced in the gut. So if we're constantly inflaming our gut with toxic food and all these artificial sweeteners and artificial food dyes, we're literally manifesting our own dis-ease through the food we're eating.
I mean, it's just crazy to me that doctors don't have to have any knowledge of like nutrition.
Yeah.
It's just like scientifically doesn't even make sense that people who are caring for our health on a professional level don't have to have some sort of degree in nutritional health. But, you know, we don't need to go down that rabbit hole. The industry's not meant to heal us, right? It's like keep us sick and paying for all the things. But
I'm curious to know, Jules, actually, on that point, though, I'm curious to know, like, after having your daughter, did that also open up your eyes to other things regarding your health and just how broken the system is? Because, you know, your daughter's 2, I believe, right? But there's so many 6 and 7-year-olds who are prescribed Adderall for simply not being able to focus, which is complete nonsense. Like,
it's like the teachers don't want to deal with having to just, you know, deal with a hyper kid.
But yeah, and even so, it's like hyper is probably just a lot of energy, which to me is normal for a kid.
Kids aren't meant to be at desks all day.
Learning about shit they don't care about.
Like the education system's flawed, the healthcare system's flawed. Like, you know, kids are meant to be outside, making a mess, learning, touching dirt, getting paint on themselves. Like, you know, we're indoctrinating our children so early. I mean, honestly, like, there's many times where I think to myself, I'd love to homeschool my daughter and just take her around the world with me. Like, why read about Paris when we can go there? You know, like, why, you know, I don't know, if in the perfect world, I'll set up my life so that I can make money doing what I love and include my daughter in that and just be her teacher for as long as I can, you know? Right now I'm not there yet, but yeah, man. My mom who adopted me, before she adopted me, she was in my life pretty early on, and you know, I was prescribed Ritalin, and she was like, if I'm going to be adopting her, my aunt and uncle were kind enough they had custody of me at the time, to include her in the decision because they knew that she was going to be eventually adopting me. And she said, no, I don't want her on medication. If she's 18 and she wants to make that decision, fine. So instead she put me in track and dance and chorus and acting and musical theater and every activity I wanted to do. She found a way to pay for it. And I did them all. And I was able to get my energy and ideas out. And the teachers dealt with it and my parents dealt with it. And then when I turned 18 and went to college, all my friends were getting lots of work done over the weekend after partying on Friday and Saturday night. I was like, how you guys doing this? They were like, Adderall. I was like, sign me up. And next thing you know, I went to my doctor and I sure enough still had ADHD and got the prescription and had been on it for the past 15 years. And that was like my little limitless pill.
Yeah.
I would be working myself into the ground. And when my body was telling me I was tired, I was like, all right, time to pop that pill.
I also brought you microdosing capsules, by the way.
Oh, awesome.
Which are amazing. We've helped a lot of people with ADHD wean off those medications because when you microdose with our formula, like lion's mane, cordyceps, beetroot powder, and a little psilocybin, it's amazing at helping you tap into more flow state, more focus, more presence. And yeah, especially with you being very much tapped into like the creative space, I think it would be a good tool for you.
I wonder if I would get in trouble for administering some chocolate at my like sound bath event that I'm doing. How does that work with like legal?
We can talk about it for sure. Yeah, we can talk about it. Yeah, we can talk about it for sure. I'm definitely open to supporting in whatever way possible because what I've learned regarding the medicine when we talk about mushrooms is like it just peels back the layers. Mm-hmm. It removes some of the blockages that we have energetically and emotionally, and it allows you to be more present and more authentic. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the things that resonates with me, like just talking to you is like, you're authentic. You're real as fuck.
Thanks.
And I'm sure that's like a big reason why people and the people that have been following you resonate with you so much.
You know, sometimes I wonder because like people always ask me what I do, and it's always been a difficult answer to like say in one short reply, because I am a very multidimensional person who's done many things over the span of my 15-year career in entertainment and marketing and event production and consultation, management, etc. But man, one thing that I realize is like, cause like there's been times where the last time I took a hiatus like this, I went to Hawaii. I was supposed to go for 10 days for a retreat at this place called Lumeria, that Deepak Chopra and Oprah did this thing at. And there's our carrot. And I went there for 10 days and ended up staying for 3 months. And I was like, oh, well, I'm not hanging around celebrities in Hawaii. I'm not interviewing anybody or attending festivals or doing anything cool. Like, are people still going to follow me? Am I still going to get brand deals? How am I going to make money while I'm out here? And God would have it that people tuned in even more. And that celebrities were tuning in. You know, they see their lives in LA and New York. They don't care about seeing more of that. Like, they were more interested in what I was doing in Hawaii, hiking waterfalls, getting sound baths, getting healing, Reiki, you know, doing a ceremony for the child that I had lost and decided not to bring into the world. Like all these things that were very deep, layered things I was sharing. And, you know, people stuck with me like through all the eras, like through my hosting the FTR Mondays party, through running the VIP and nightlife at Live and Story, through managing 070 Shake and having a digital radio station and building brands and working with beats and beat companies and all these things. Like, I'm like, okay, so I'm the common denominator here. Like something about me, because I used to think like, oh, it's the people I'm working with. It's the celebrities I'm around. It's the access that I have, it's this, it's that. But it's like, once those things have all gone away, and they have at different times, the people were still there. So I finally realized like in 2019, like, oh, there's something in me that's worth tuning into.
3672. We can, you're good. Yep. So when was that Hawaii trip, Jules?
It was in 2019.
Okay, so you've been like tapped into this space for a minute then.
Yeah, I almost moved to Hawaii. By the way, I'm a Pisces. Like, I'll almost move anywhere that I go for longer than 10 days and fall in love with. But Hawaii has become, I've been to 47 countries, and Hawaii is my favorite place in the world. Maui specifically. I just really love the culture and the people and their attentiveness to the land and the community and the bees. Like, they just really care, the locals there, you know, and the expats, like the people who come from the mainland and have been there for a while. And it just was inspiring to see, like, they didn't really care about any of the stuff going on in the media, or they don't listen to the same people we listen to. Like, half the people there didn't even know half the people I worked with. You know what I mean? Like, nobody cared who I was or what I could offer them. They're just like, where are the waves and where's the freshest fish today? And like, you know, not to say all people are simple, but my community there really just cared about the simple things. And it really transformed me in a way.
Yeah.
And then I came back, and I did get, after being there for 3 months, I was like, all right, maybe I'll get a job with the government here, like saving the bees. Maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do that. And then I got island fever. I was like, all right, I need to go back home and start making some money and getting back in touch with my friends in the industry. And I moved back to Miami from LA after that, because Spirit told me I needed to leave LA and go back home, and that I would find love if I came back to Miami. And, you know, one way or the other, whether it started with her father and ended with her, I found it through my daughter. So had I not come back here, I would probably, you know, I would have stayed in LA, and who knows, I might not be a mother right now. So, and that's like the greatest thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah, we're definitely going to drop into motherhood. There's so many different tangents, because every time you speak, you open up these new portals.
Yeah,
and I'm like, fuck,
which road
Jules.
do I want to go down?
No, for real though. That's how it is. That's how it is. I imagine Hawaii is also just such a healing energy because
It's the heart chakra of the earth. Did you know that? Maui. Like there's, different places. Peru is one, Lake Titicaca. I forget. There's one in London, like Stonehenge is one, but there's all these different points that represent the chakras of the earth. And I was told to go to Maui specifically to heal my heart.
Wow. This is so interesting too, because last night on the podcast with my friend Bibi, we were talking about breast implants and how those are so connected to the heart chakra. Is that something? Well, we maybe can go down that tangent later.
A friend of mine, Catherine, just got hers removed because she's had awakenings through ayahuasca and different plant medicine ceremonies, and her ancestors told her to take hers out. And so she did, and she feels so much better and just not having any foreign things in her body.
Yeah, and that's basically what we were talking about, is how like our breasts, especially for a woman, is like the most powerful direct portal to your heart. And if you're putting this
plastic, silicone.
Exactly. You're creating separation. And I've also had many friends, once they do a lot of healing work and inner work, they have an explant and so much of the complications that they've been experiencing just dissolves.
100%.
And more importantly, they feel connected to themselves again because they've cultivated that love internally, unconditionally, rather than needing something externally to make them feel whole and complete, which I think is also a beautiful space to be in.
I've always I've always been like, man, it'd be nice to have implants, but something always stopped me. That and a nose job. I don't know, I've always thought of it it would be nice to perfect myself in those ways, even braces. But then I always just never pulled the trigger. I've even been offered free boobs from doctors here that are top doctors. But I don't know. I'm just really first of all, I feel everybody should do what makes them happy in that moment.
For
right.
sure.
So I never judge, and I'm happy for people who make changes that make them feel better, if that's what's going to make them feel better. But I do firmly believe that God is the greatest artist of all time. So why would I alter God's masterpiece? God made me in his vision.
Yeah.
So why would I want to make any changes to what I got going on?
I think honestly, the more we talk, the more things are unfolding regarding this next chapter for you.
100%.
You know what I mean? And I don't know if you feel it as well, but even just speaking these things out loud into existence, it's the way that you're showing up for yourself, the way that you're showing up for your daughter, and the self-awareness you have about all of these different things regarding health and healing is really, really inspiring. And the fact that, I think young people, especially young women, they need role models. They need models of beauty, success that aren't traditional.
This is why I love Rihanna. I love that Rihanna never changed a thing about herself. When she gained weight, she gained weight. When she was skinny. After she had her 2 babies, she didn't decide to get implants or a boob lift. She never hid smoking weed from anyone. My Pisces sister, if you're watching this, I hope to meet you and be your friend one day. But yeah, she's just so authentic. And I just love that about her. And I think that that's very rare. I honestly can't think of anyone else that's a woman in the industry as an actress, as a singer, that maybe Erykah Badu. She might not have made any changes, but it's really rare. And so I really appreciate that, because anytime that I did think about it, if Rihanna would have made some changes, maybe I would have thought, maybe I would have pulled the trigger. So I know that the influence is real, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's important to understand our platform. And, I'm not Rihanna, but I do influence my sisters and my family and my friends and maybe a few of my audience members too. So if I can be an example of what authenticity can look like, then I'm happy to, be that.
It's really dope. I think that's what you're stepping into, and I'm really juiced that I get to be a small sliver of that journey. And I'm curious to know, going back to your childhood and your upbringing, I believe you spent your first 9 years in a foster home?
8, yeah.
8 years. And I'm just curious, like,
well, not a foster home. Sorry. I was with great family members.
Okay.
On and off. I was very hyper, very angry, very emotional, very combative, and just rude, so I wasn't the easiest to deal with. So I don't blame any of my family members for kind of being like, all right, you guys take her now. Like, I can't do this anymore, whatever. So I did hop around mainly from family member to family member. And when I was like, honestly, my worst experiences were when I was with my birth mother. I probably should have been in foster care in those times, honestly. But when a child goes to foster care, they try to have family members foster them first, if possible. And there was a place called Little Rascals that was kind of like my one consistent place that I called home, because no matter what family member I was with at the time, that was where I went after school.
Yeah.
And that place gave, certain pricing or held space for children and fostered youth. And so the director of that place, the operations director, is my mom now. And so she met me when I was 2, when my aunt enrolled me in the program. And no matter who I was with, I always ended up back there. And so she kind of seen the trajectory, like, oh, this girl's probably going to end up being available for adoption at some point.
Got it.
I was sent to her office often for just getting in fights, starting my own like performances during times that were supposed to be like class periods. And like, I would like put little signs in the bathroom and stuff like TLC performance in the clubhouse at 2 p.m., and then like kids would act like they had to go to the bathroom and like go catch my performance.
For real?
Outside. Yeah. So I've kind of been like doing events, music centric performances, etc. since I was old enough to do so. Like it's always just been in me to kind of like entertain and provide space and build community and, host events in my own right. And I've always kind of been entrepreneurial, and my mom, Johanna, she supported that. Like if I wanted to do a lemonade stand, she was like, yeah. When the first year that I came to live with her, I was in school for a couple months and I was like, hey, I want to do a art class on our patio. And I want to get these easels and these canvases and host all my friends. And we're going to paint the shitty beach that's across the street in Massachusetts. And then when the parents come to pick them up, I'm going to hang up all the artwork in the back hallway and we're going to sell them back to the parents for $1 each. And my mom was like,
you were hustling.
Okay, let's do it.
Shit.
So she always like supported those ideas. And honestly, like my biggest inspiration is my mom. And if I could be anything for my daughter, I just want to be her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know. Thank you for sharing that, by the way.
Yeah. I have the same journal as you.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I just found this shit on Amazon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I got it on Amazon too.
I'm in the process of creating my own journal. Hopefully it's done by the end of the year. Oh, dope.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think if you could go back, the 7-year-old, 8-year-old version of yourself? What do you think she would say if she saw you in this present moment?
I think she'd be a little disappointed that I'm not a famous singer, but I think she would be proud nonetheless of, my dream was always to travel, always to live a luxurious life. I think it was like something that seemed so far off for me at the time. Like there was a time that like my aunt picked me up from my mom and I had like maggots in my diaper. Like my mom, my birth mother was like a full on just not present parent.
And did you have any father figure in your life growing up?
My birth mother kept me from my father, who I'm now close with. He lives 4 minutes away from me and is really trying to make up for lost time now, which is beautiful. The father figure that I did have in my life, who is my sister's father, not the best guy. He ended up going to jail for child pornography. He just wasn't a good guy. So, I have a very tumultuous relationship with like men, and I've had a lack of respect for men for quite some time that I've been working on, that my relationships mirror to me often. And I realize through each failed relationship that I still have a lot of work to do, because men need to be respected in a romantic relationship, you know, and there's just a lot of work that I need to do there. But yeah, so, and my mom had lots of different, before she stuck with him, she had many other characters who were even worse than him. So yeah, a lot of it, like, I just can't even, like, some things I remember, but a lot of it I kind of just blocked out. Like, there's like periods in my life that I just couldn't even tell you. I just don't even remember. And like, I've toyed with, like, do I do the work to address those things, or do I kind of just live in bliss?
The suppressed memories?
Yeah.
Like, what period of your life are they from?
Before, like probably from 2 to 6, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you think some shit happened, but you're not exactly sure what, and you're not sure if you should, like, go down the rabbit hole of finding out what?
I've been told shit happened.
Okay.
So I think shit happened, but it's just like, yeah, I'm just like, we can acknowledge that shit happened. And I'm like, do I need to know exactly what it is in order to be fully healed? Right. Or can I just do the work and not need to know? You know what I mean? Luckily, both of my parents are still alive, so I can, like, probably do the research and find out if I want to. And that's been something I've been trying to, like, figure out if I want to go down that road. But I don't know. I always feel like energy is better spent building than, like, hashing things up or, you know, reflecting or ruminating. Yeah.
Right.
I never really stay mad. Like, I don't hold grudges. And that's a part of, like, the boundaries thing too. It's like, sometimes I should stay mad. Sometimes I should cut people off completely. And I've had a hard time doing that. Like, I always end up forgiving and forgetting, which is kind of like a great blessing, but also maybe not so great.
Well, I'm curious to know, so your dad was pretty much absent your entire life, and then he recently came back into your life, which probably required a massive amount of forgiveness on your behalf.
It's so crazy, the story of how I found my dad. I'm going to try to, like, summarize it, but one of my sisters reached out to me on Facebook. So I moved to Miami. I was in kind of like an abusive relationship in Tampa. A friend of mine who wasn't even a close friend, an acquaintance, who's kind of like prophetic. She's an Aquarius, and her name's Jessie. She's amazing. She's super tapped in. She's a sound healer now. But she came up to me one day and she's like, I feel like you're not in a great relationship, and I'm about to move to Miami, and I know you don't know me very well, but you're welcome to come with me, and you can live with me until you get on your feet. And we'd hung out one time at work. We were filming something together. That's all we knew of each other, was that 1 hour we spent filming this show. And I was like, this girl's crazy. Like, I'm not going with her. She's a stranger. Like, I want nothing to do with this. And then it would turn out that, like, a defining moment in that relationship happened where it was like, I was always kind of afraid that he would, like, hit me or hurt me physically. There was always, like, threats of it. And then, like, maybe a few days after she said that, it happened for the first time. And I was like, okay, I can't be this person. I don't want to follow my mom's footsteps, my birth mother. So I was like, oh, that girl offered me to go with her. Like, where could I go? Because he was kind of like the man where we were living in Tampa, and, you know, would find me wherever I was. So I was like, all right. One day he went to the gym, and I just packed up all my shit and called her and was like, hey, I'm ready. Like, did you leave yet? She was like, no, I'm leaving, like, tomorrow. I'll come get you. And we drove down to Miami, and I moved here. And I wanted to work at Live, and whatever the story goes, like, I ended up getting some followers and being somebody in town that people would know. And, you know, I was like Miami New Times most influential person in Miami one year, whatever. And it was around this time that I got a message on Facebook from somebody with my birth father's last name, Capuzzo. And it was Natasha Capuzzo. And she's like, hey, I'm your sister. And I was like, what? Like, your dad, Luigi, is my dad. And I was just like, what? I called my mom that raised me, and I was like, you know, do you think this is true? She's like, I do remember you had, like, an older sister, but, you know, they probably just want money from you. I was like, Mom, I have followers. I don't have money. Like, you know, at that time, we were at the beginning of influencer marketing. It wasn't even a word yet, right? So then I got another message from another Capuzzo that claimed to be my sister. And she was like, hey, you know, I just want to let you know, like, I know Natasha reached out, but I'm also your sister, and you have 11 other brothers and sisters and listed them and their ages. And then at the end of the message was like, yeah, the youngest ones actually live with your dad. He's in Miami if you want to meet him. I was like, wait, what? I thought my dad was dead. Like I understood that my dad died in jail. And so I never looked for him. And so I, of course, like went and got in touch with my birth mother and was just like, what the fuck, you know? And apparently it was like for my best interest that I wasn't in touch with him because of his like whatever he had going on at the time. But it would turn out that now after this happened 10 years ago. So I've known him and my sisters for 10 years now. I'm super close with a few of them. I love them very deeply. I'm an aunt to their kids. You know, we see each other. Our kids hang out. It's a beautiful thing. But I didn't want to meet I wasn't ready. Even after that message, I was shocked. I was like, oh, wow, my dad's alive. I guess I'll meet him one day. But I'm building a business and a brand right now. I don't have time for this. So I just shrugged it off and was like, didn't even write my sister back. Right. So then I got a job offer for Beats by Dre, which was going to be like my first real job. That wasn't like a restaurant or a club. It was something respectable. It was an apple.com email address. And I was going to be trained to become the next CMO under the CMO at the time. Right.
Oh, wow.
And I'd have to like move to LA and relocate and be in an office every day and stuff. And I was like, man, I don't know if I'm capable of being in an office the same time every day. Like I've been an entrepreneur like this whole time. But this is an amazing opportunity and my mom would be proud because I didn't end up finishing college and maybe this would make her proud, you know, all this stuff. So whatever, I let the contract sit in my email for months. And then it was time for me to answer. Like they were like, what's going on? We're going to have to give somebody else a job if you don't answer soon. It was like December. I never run. I hate running. I was like, let me go for a run and see if God sends me an answer, right? And so often I'll do these things and say something like that out loud. Like I was literally like, let me go for a run and God, tell me what I should do. And this is going to sound crazy probably, but like it started raining and I was right by Lincoln Road and, you know, by the movie theater there's like there's those shops and there was this shop called the Ninth Chakra. It's no longer there, unfortunately. It's just like...
I know exactly what shop you're talking about.
Yeah, it was right there. And it had an awning. So I stood under the awning while it was raining thinking like, you know, I'll just chill here until the rain calms down a bit. And then the store smelled really good. So it was like incense burning and stuff. I was like, oh, let me go in here. This store seems cool. And I was like looking at the tarot cards and the crystals and everything. And there's like a curtain in the background. And it was advertised that there was a fortune teller or a psychic there. And I was like, hey, I want to talk to the psychic. And the guy at the desk laughed at me and was like, Maria, she's booked. Like, she doesn't have an opening. I was like, all right, well, what about tomorrow? He's like, she's booked for 3 months. I was like, what? Like, damn, I can't pay extra. You know what I mean? Like squeeze me in there.
She must be good.
Right. So then he basically laughed me off and was like, sure, I'll put you on the waiting list. Like, we'll make a reservation for you in 3 months. And like, as I'm making that appointment, she comes out from behind the curtain and she's like, oh, my appointment that I was supposed to have just canceled because of the rain. Would you like to see me now? And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I swear, it's like a movie. And I walked in there and in my head, I was like, Beats by Dre or start my own business. Beats by Dre or start my own business. And I'm like, if she's a real psychic, she'll read my mind and just answer my question, you know? And she looked at me and she was like, I would love to answer your question. I swear to God on everything I love. Like, she's like, I would love to answer your question, but only your father can give you clarity in this. And I was like, I just like started bawling because I was like, what the fuck? These 2 girls have been messaging me, telling me that I should meet my father. I've been ignoring them. Now this psychic's telling me I need to meet my father to answer beats back, you know, like what's going on? And I still wasn't completely sold. And then in that session, she read me. She was like, you've got parking tickets. You don't even know this, but your license is expired. You don't even know this, but you have taxes due that you haven't paid. This was like my first successful year where I'd have to pay taxes. I had been getting taxes my whole life as an employee. This was my first year throwing parties where I'd have to pay taxes. I was like, all these things. She's like, yeah, you're gonna have to get all this stuff in order because you're about to be financially blessed. And if you don't work on these things, you're gonna miss your blessings or they're gonna come and go quickly, right? And so I was like, wow, all right. I left there, I got organized. But the first thing I did was I called my sister. Well, I messaged her, got her number. I called her and I was like, hey, I wanna meet Dad. And she's like, okay, let me see if I can arrange like for us to all do dinner next week. I said, I need to meet him this week. Like, I really need to talk to him about something time sensitive. And so she arranged a dinner for the next day, and I met my father the next day, and like, he was like very much my dad. Like I had never met him that I could remember. Probably, you know, when I was 2 or something was the last time I had seen him. And he had 5 phones stacked on the table, buzzing, going off like crazy, never not working. He found out what I did for a living and immediately got to work trying to get me opportunities. He was like, oh, you throw parties? My friend in Puerto Rico has a business. He does concerts at the business. He has a venue. Let me talk to him. You want to do a party in Puerto Rico? I set it up right now. Like, put me on text with the guy in that moment. I didn't even get a chance to answer him and be like, let me build an audience in Puerto Rico, you know? And that's how I am, right? So like, I grew up with people who aren't very entrepreneurial, aren't really like, you know, interested in like building a brand, or, you know, like they're creatures of habit. Like my mom and dad, I love them to death, but like they'd be happy with Chili's for the rest of their life. Like it is me pulling nails and teeth to get them to go to a new restaurant or fly with me to LA or, you know, whatever. But now my mom had this liver transplant. She's wanting to travel more and experience life more, thank God. But I never really felt like I fit in with my family that raised me. And so to sit there at the table with my sisters who are strong, independent, high-earning women, and my father who raised them, I mean, he raised all 11 of his kids, took care of them financially, whether he was in jail or not at the time. Like, he was actually an amazing father that I missed out on having in my life. And is now a great dad to me and a great grandfather to my daughter. But if my parents go to Chili's, they're not getting to know the waitress's name and building a rapport with her. Like, I'm the type of person that they know my order at Carrot Express. You know what I mean? Like, I know the guy Ishmael is who's taking my order. You know, like that's how me and my father are. We like to build with people and speak to people. Very outgoing, not shy at all. And it was really cool to see that in the person who made. I was like, oh, this is my dad. Like, this is why I am how I am. And so that was great. But in that visit, I asked him like, hey, so I'm meeting with you today because I need to know if I'm meant to go take this job and then like climb the corporate ladder, or if I'm meant to start my own business. He said, oh, no, you can't work for nobody. We don't work for nobody. I'm like, all right, enough said. And so I declined the offer, which was more than I had ever made. I had no idea if I was going to get clients, no idea if any of these brands that I wanted to work with were going to take the gamble on spending money on me as an influencer instead of an ad, which wasn't a thing at the time. And sure enough, within 90 days, Beats was a client. I was making more from them as an influencer through my agency than I would have been at the office 9 to 5.
Wow. In
hindsight, it would have probably been a great experience to learn from the CMO there and see how a business like that works and get that experience at a high level, you know what I mean? Because maybe I would have made better business decisions and know how to approach brands from the outside, from the inside out, you know? Because I had a lot of hard learning curves with my agency, but whatever, like my experience was my experience, and I made my first $1 million that year. So my job offer was $150,000.
All right, I hate to interrupt this epic conversation, but if you are enjoying this podcast right now, it would mean the absolute world if you could leave a review wherever you happen to be listening, whether that is YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. Honestly, word of mouth is my oxygen, and we want this message to go out to as many people as possible as we raise the collective vibration of humanity. So please take 8 or 9 seconds to just leave 5 stars, say some nice words, and now let's get back to the show. That's crazy. It's so, thanks for sharing that story, by the way. And that happened how long ago? So how long?
That was 2016.
Okay, wow. So 8 years ago. Damn, that's really dope. And now you have a really strong connection with your dad. Yeah,
we're getting there. I'm still a little like it's hard for me to like get emotional, or like, you know, he often says to me, oh, you don't always answer my calls, or like, you know, I don't know. I think I'm still a little blocked off. It's weird getting to know somebody in your 30s.
Yeah.
That's like a parent.
Do you think is there any resentment still there, or not really?
I'm just like, you know, if my mom wasn't letting you see me, like me personally, there's nothing in the world And there have been attempts. There is nothing in the world that could keep me from my daughter. I will fight. I would kill somebody.
Yeah. I'm curious.
Literally. So I'm like, you know, why didn't you fight for me, Dad? But I'm glad because I love my parents that raised me. Like, my mom is my hero, my angel, my everything. So
I think it's really important too to just reflect on the series of events that led to all of that happening.
Yeah.
Like, you never really go on runs. You decided to just go on a run this one day, and then it starts raining, and to get shelter, you're at the 9th chakra, right? And then you go in, the fortune teller, the psychic, doesn't have any sessions, but someone cancels because of the rain. And then you're able to take that session and get the answers that you're seeking, which is to go see your dad. And then that facilitates a relationship with your dad.
Also, if I never would have crazy to take it back even further, I was going to go to the military when I left, when I was in college. I was going to sign up for the military because I was in school, and they did that. They had the recruiters come, and I took the ASVAB test. I scored really high. They wanted me to be in the nuclear program. I don't know how I scored really high. And they offered me a $90,000 signing bonus, and that was like the most money I'd ever heard of. And I was going to ship out in August, and it was July. And I went to Blue Martini, and they were having an audition for a TV show there that was like a local, I was going to school for broadcast journalism. It was a local bilingual sports show. And I walked in and I got the part, and my recruiter let me out of my contract, which doesn't happen often either. I got out of the contract, did this show, and that's where I met my friend Jessie. And she became my friend because they didn't want her to wear a blue dress or a green dress on the green screen. And I had brought extra options for myself to wear. And I was like, hey, you could wear anything that I'm not wearing here. And she thought that was really kind of me. So she ended up following me on Facebook and keeping up with like all the parties and stuff I was doing in Tampa, and like took a liking to me from a distance and made me this offer. Had I not been in an abusive relationship, I would have stayed in Tampa. I wouldn't have moved to Miami. I wouldn't have met my birth family. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things. That's why I never regret anything. Like, I have done some dumb shit. I've made some mistakes like that have cost me my dream jobs, that have cost me possibly being married right now. Like, you know what I mean? And I don't regret any of it because my life is a true testament to everything that happens is truly meant to happen.
It's wild listening to it. And it's fun to go back and see all of the pieces of the puzzle in this unique and divine way just come together in a way that you could have never planned, right? It was like a test of trust and surrender. And I'm curious to know if you're open to talking about it with your marriage and separation and stuff like that. I'm curious to know how like your childhood and the way that everything unfolded kind of impacts the way, number one, you raise your daughter, and also kind of like the dynamic between you and your former partner. Because I know if there's could be a lot of tension and how that impacts the child. And, you know, I'm just curious how you navigate that, because I imagine it can't be easy.
It's been the hardest thing ever. I always wanted to break the generational curses and be the family unit that I never had. And so it makes me really sad still to this day that I can't give my daughter that. I hate that she has to split time between two of her favorite people, and that we can never be like in the same room for a holiday or her birthday or whatever. And I pray that that changes eventually, but I realize now that I know that nothing's more important than being present, that I still had a lot of like learning and growing to do. And I think we both did our best. And, you know, me having the life that I've had has made me a very headstrong, independent woman. And I never thought that I wanted to be anything but that, even when I was engaged and living with a man who was willing to allow me to just relax. It was still very important to me to have my own individual identity and have my business and my career. And I thought that anybody who was encouraging me to like slow down with that didn't have my best interest in heart. And so that caused a lot of tension for us. I just felt like, wow, I spent my whole life building this up. I take care of so many people. Like, I can't just stop now just to be a wife and a mother. And go figure, a year later, like, I was like, oh, I can't picture myself at home, like, cooking and just like not doing anything but being a mom. And like, now that we're in court, all I want to do is be a mom and cook and clean and take care of my home. You know what I mean? I mean, I want to do a lot of other things also. But yeah, he probably would have loved this version of me, you know? But like I said, everything happens for a reason. And yeah.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah.
It makes me sad, but because she's like, my daughter's just like me and she wants everyone together all the time. Like, she's the type of person that, like, if we're here and you get the food we just ordered and you start eating it there and she's over there with the guys, like, she'll be like, no, I want everybody to eat at the table. Let's say a prayer. All hold hands. You're not holding hand. No, let me see your hand. Like, she is a leader and she facilitates community and she loves her family being together. So I hope that one day she can, like, experience that with both of her parents, you know, and that we could be a blended family eventually. Because it's hard, like, not being able to have those moments, like, oh, who's going to get her on Christmas? Who's going to get her on Christmas Eve? You know, like, that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know, like, even though I am in a space where I do want to just spend more time with my family, like, it needs to be my decision. It can't be because somebody's forcing me to. And I need to have the freedom and the opportunity to start my business back up when and if I'm ready to. And that's very important to me. And, like, it will always be very important to me. And I think, like, when and if there is a man that comes along that I can trust to finally lead me, which I've never had, then I'll do that. But I come with a package. My family is my package. And I made a promise to my mom, who took care of me and changed my life, that I would take care of her and buy her a house one day. If she took my sister, who I found when I was 18, and then her daughter in, which is a whole other part of the story, but she did. And she's taking care of my sister and my niece. And I owe this to her to take care of her very small amount of bills that she has, you know? And so if I stop working, like, I can't do that. And that's a promise I made. I'm going to stick to it. So whoever, like, wants me in their life will either, you know, that's a part of the program.
Yeah.
So either allow me to work to do that or cough it up, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I definitely just need to, like, learn how to trust men and let them lead, because I feel like I know the way and I know best, and sometimes I don't. So.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing all that. I think it's also just something that a lot of people seem to be struggling with, is this dance and balance between the masculine and feminine energy.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, I think men are being programmed to think that masculinity is toxic and that they need to be, like, taking a back seat. And then there's women that have been told this narrative that, you know, they need to be this bad bitch who's, like, completely independent and, like, doesn't need a man. And I think it's created these two narratives, and it's created separation between the masculine and feminine, rather than actually, like, working together and, like, going on this dance, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot there to unpack. Thanks. I think I just got to pray for our generation, you know, and the ones to come after us. Like, God, like, that's, now we're going to be competing with robots for love too. I
Fuck
mean,
that.
like
That's
what,
wild.
like, if men are, you know, a lot of men, like, marriage is a business decision for a lot of people. Oh, I'm going to work and take care of the family and protect, and you're going to take care of the home and the food and the kids. But, like, a robot might be able to do that now. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know, like, we all need to just, like, center ourselves in balance and, like, really become whole individually and do the work while we're getting to know other people. And, like, I think it's like, there's just so much work to be done. And women have had to be very masculine. Like, you know, I can't say that up until I met my ex, like I was never with a man that I would have, like if somebody came to rob us, that I would feel like they'd protect me.
Really?
No. Like, he was the first one. I'm like, okay, I'm safe with this person, you know? And that's like hard as a woman. You want to feel safe, you know? And that's like, it must be hard as a man to have that pressure. Like, oh, I gotta, it is a dangerous world. I have to be the one to protect this woman and whatever offspring we bring into the world. Like, that is a large responsibility.
Yeah.
And it could be shared, you know, like, should it? I don't know. It depends on what your upbringing is and what you think. But, you know, I think people should just be free to do what brings them joy. And if for some women that's staying home and doing the feminine norms, then cool, that it should be that. And if it's being a career woman, it should be that. Like, I think we should just be here to support one another in our ever evolving journeys. And that's going to change, you know, like your parents, like I'm sure there were many times where they probably wanted to give up and divorce one another and be like, oh, I don't even have anything in common with this person anymore. And then 10 years goes by and then all of a sudden they're your best friend again, you know? So it's like, we're always changing and evolving. And it's like, I do believe that there's a soulmate or soulmates that are out there for you that you can stay on the journey with forever. But it's really just about like not giving in to what social media and everything shows us, that that the grass is always greener, or, you know, it's about like, hey, I'm going to commit myself to this person and shit's going to happen and it's going to be tough. But as long as we continue to do the work, then we can do this, you know?
Yeah. And I think just going back to your journey and stuff, if there's one overriding lesson that I can extract from it in just this short conversation, is that like everything seems to align in this beautiful, unexpected way for you. And I think that's going to continue to unfold with your family dynamic. And I just want to send you like lots of love.
Thanks.
Yeah. And lots of just really positive alignment on that journey. And, yeah, it's interesting when you just mentioned that with the feminine roles. I feel like for me, the way that like a beautiful dynamic in dance is like, yes, like ideally the woman being able to nurture and providing that unconditional love for the kids and being able to also pursue her passions and be aligned with her purpose. Because I also have seen with a lot of women that are in my community and that I work with, a lot of them make their kids their sole purpose. And they lose
themselves.
They lose the connection to themselves and what lights their soul on fire before they became a mom. So I do think it's really important. Like, I think being a mom's a full-time job. I tell my mom that shit every single time I speak to her. Like, yeah, when my parents had me, I have an older brother. Like, my dad told my mom, like I really I want you to prioritize yourself and the family. And my mom was really grateful for that. And I also know later in life how that manifested is like my mom felt so connected to being a mom that she lost herself in that journey. And when we left the house, there's something called empty nest syndrome.
Yeah, she didn't know what to do with herself.
She was massively depressed.
Yeah.
Started taking antidepressants, and thank God, like microdosing has helped her get off of that.
Really?
Yeah, it's been amazing. At 75, she started doing it.
Well, I think it's important for your kids to see you doing what you love.
Yes.
Even if you're a stay-at-home mom and you love just giving back to the community, being there for toy drives and turkey drives, or, you know, attending church or writing or painting or cooking, whatever it is that brings your heart joy, like it's important for the kids to see you doing that in a way that's not a chore. Like cooking because you love to, not because the family has to eat. You know what I mean? Like, which is not always possible 7 days of the week, but carve that time out to make sure at least 1 or 2 days of the week, like, you know, you're working out, you're, you know, doing the things that like bring you peace and joy, because my daughter can see when I do that and she can see when I'm stressed. And when I was at working on my last project, I came home from being on the road for a week and my daughter literally had a seizure, 2 seizures. And I fully believe that she picked up my energy and I'm able to handle that energy. And she and her little body, God bless her, wasn't. And so we had to spend a full night in the ER and they prescribed her seizure medication. And had I not been an intuitive spiritual person and just listened to what the doctors said, who are doing their job as professionals, I would have administered her that medicine, and she'd have to take it every single day for the rest of her life. And if she didn't take it one day, she could have a seizure. But I meditated on it, and I was like, I feel so strongly that I brought this dark, anxious, heavy energy home with me from where I was working. Wow. And my daughter picked up on it and was waking up in the middle of the night screaming, no, mommy, no, having nightmares. And then when I go to like check on her, that's when the seizure like activity would happen with her eyes rolling and all this stuff. And I was just like, no, she's just scared for me. Like, I don't want to give her this medicine, which was difficult because if I was wrong, I could be like risking her health. But my intuition is pretty on point most of the time, even when it leads me down a path that teaches me a hard lesson.
Yeah.
It's been pretty good to me. So yeah, I don't know, man. That's just led me down. Like now I'm so interested, like this period that I'm in, I'm like, I don't want to start anything new because I'm changing every day. I'm like going down the health and wellness rabbit hole, learning about new modalities and things that I'm interested in. Maybe I want to be a practitioner in this. Maybe I want to, do my 10,000 hours to administer plant medicine. Maybe I want to learn about, I just looked, Harvard has this course. Like maybe I want to get a degree in neuroscience, like I want to understand our minds and our bodies and our spirits and like how what we do on a daily basis affects us. And I obviously have a love for marketing. So the interest in people and why we do the things we do and buy the things we buy is already there. Like now I want to take it a step further and like go deeper, And if you would have asked me a year ago, I would have never thought about like going back, maybe Harvard Business School, just down the same path I was on. But like, yeah.
I'm curious to know, Jules. So, and I think that's so important that you mentioned that regarding your daughter and the seizure, because our nervous systems co-regulate. It's the same way. Even like if I showed up to this podcast and I was just like in a super low vibration state or I was really distracted, that's going to impact the way that you feel and show up as well. You know what I mean?
Which that's how I showed up, by the way.
No, I felt like
stressed out state.
You did a good job of hiding it, but even
you know what I did before we started?
A little.
I called my daughter.
That grounds you.
That brings me back.
And she didn't have a history of epilepsy or anything.
No.
So
she hasn't had a seizure since I stopped working.
That's so important just for parents to understand that.
Yeah.
Like your children are going
Picking
to
up
like
your stress.
Exactly. Like they're going to likely embody the same things that their parents are embodying. So if they witness their parents eating healthy and moving their bodies and in a loving relationship, like they're much more likely to adopt that as their norm because that's what they're being exposed to. And their brains are literally plastic as a child. Like they're so malleable. They're a sponge. They're absorbing it all. My
daughter, I told her to pose the other day for a picture. Like I wanted her to like, put her hand on her hip or like hold up the peace sign. She did a yoga pose. She did the standing tree pose. And
she's two?
She's 2, advanced. And she would have never been in that space where she's doing those things if I wasn't in the space I'm in now. Like when you're in a rush and you're going to work and you're stressed out, you're doing emails and you're on your phone, like you're not thinking to put baby yoga on the TV while you're getting your kid ready for school, like it's those little things. Like I write notes and put them in her lunchbox. And today the teacher told me like, oh, I just want to let you know, there was a week where you like wrote River some notes and like she went around to every classmate during lunch and was like, look, my mommy loves me. I was like showing every classmate that I wrote, that her mom wrote her a note. And it takes like 1 minute to do that, right? But it's just like the smallest things, like you said about your dad. And my mom does that. Like when she leaves and goes back to Tampa, she'll write on my fridge, like, Abuela loves you girls, can't wait to see you again. And it's like, these are the things from my childhood that I'll always remember, that I remember now as an adult. And I want to give all those moments to my daughter. So I never want to be in a situation where I don't care how much money it is or how much power I might get or whatever. Like I never want to be in a situation where I'm not having the best energy for her.
What is, by the way, my dad's a neurologist. So so if you ever just need someone else's opinion, he's been doing that shit for like over 40 years. So he's pretty good at what he does.
And you ended up in the medicine business, the non-pharmaceutical medicine business.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So my dad was a drug dealer and I'm a medicine dealer. That's the way I look at it.
How did he feel about it when you started going down this path?
Yeah, so when I first did ayahuasca in 2018, my dad was still practicing and I mentioned like, hey, I'm going to Peru to do this thing. And it was one of those things of like, don't ask, don't tell. I could tell like he was kind of, he didn't want to give too much energy to it. And he was kind of just like, okay, do your thing. Yeah. And then when I started to dive deeper into psilocybin in 2020, my dad just retired. So he had way more time on his hands. And he started to see some of my clients and some of my students, like I was helping them, you know, whether it was giving up alcohol or getting off SSRIs or just becoming more aligned with their purpose and having more energy and inspiration for the day. My dad would like overhear some of my calls and be like, yo, like whatever you're doing with them seems to be working. And then I started to really just introduce him to the research and the data because my dad's a doctor.
He's a data guy. Yeah.
Exactly. So like when I'm showing my dad research from Yale or Johns Hopkins and all of these things that you can't dispute, it's factual. You know, he started to really become more alert and aware and be more open to it. And, you know, a couple years ago, I started my mom on microdosing and she was on blood pressure meds. She was on SSRIs. And like, there's nothing more sad for me to come home to California and like visit my parents and see my mom just like depressed and hating herself. Like her self-talk was so bad. And she just thought very low of herself. She thought that she had no reason for existing because her kids are out of the house. And being able to just see her actually cultivate kindness, compassion, and patience for herself was like one of the most meaningful parts of my journey, because being able to help all these people around the world's amazing. But if I can't even
help your mom,
yeah. And my brother, same thing with my brother. My brother's bipolar manic. So, you know, like that's a big part of my journey as well. For 15 years, I didn't have a relationship with him because he was, you know, doing drugs and all these things. And it wasn't until my ayahuasca experience when I was 28 where I realized how much his absence affected me. And I had this, you know, without even knowing it, it was like this huge fear of abandonment because I felt like he just kind of abandoned me for 15 years of my life. So any relationship I'd be in, whether it was a romantic relationship or just a relationship with a friend, like I never allowed myself to get too close because subconsciously I just feared that they would leave and abandon me. So it was just a journey to kind of...
So now that your dad has seen your mom come around from, how do I say psilocybin?
Psilocybin.
Is he open to it now?
For himself?
Or just like, period? Like,
I mean, he's super, like, he knows everything that I'm doing. He's super supportive of it.
Okay.
To be honest, my dad is like such a happy and grateful guy. Like he's so healthy and vibrant. To be honest, I don't think mushrooms would really benefit him at this stage of life. Like I would love to do a journey with him just to see, because I know he has childhood stuff as well. But yeah, he's super open to it. And he is taken a massive shift in the 4 years since he retired. He understands how broken the healthcare system. He understands that doctors, while they have good intentions, they're just not put in position to succeed with our modern healthcare system, where you're designed. I mean, doctors learn how to treat symptoms and never the root cause. Yeah. And it's always just about putting a Band-Aid over a bullet wound. And they actually get incentivized for that.
Yeah.
So it's this broken system with these big healthcare companies, these big pharmaceutical companies, and the person that's ultimately on the short end of the stick is the patient.
Yeah.
And they're never getting really the health and healing they need. And most importantly, which my dad did an amazing job of, and this is like his biggest strength, is regardless of how broken the healthcare system is, my dad just always made sure to actually talk to his patients like humans and treat them like a real person and way beyond what their diagnosis was. Yeah. And really find out like, hey, like, how's your life at home? Yeah. You know, and make them feel seen, which I don't think most doctors do. They treat people like they're just another number. And yeah, it's been cool to see how that journey has evolved.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good to hear. I think you guys will do mushrooms together soon.
I'm manifesting that.
Yeah.
At these ceremonies that we just had, we had like some moms and daughters coming together, which was really dope. How are we on time? Do you
We
need
have like 10 minutes, but I also have to use the restroom.
Okay, no worries. So do you want to use the restroom
Yeah.
and then we'll close? Okay, cool. You're amazing. Well, you guys were doing a lot of things back there at one point. I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? You guys are all good?
Sometimes you gotta stop right out. Stare at that screen for so long.
Mike, you're used to staring at screens. And
That's supposed to be possessive.
just tugging one out. Dude, once you start drinking your own urine, bro, and you like really just see and feel the benefits, there's no going back.
Oh, please don't. I don't believe you. No, I believe you. I know. A little fired up. That's from Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah. I did a bad job, but I'm glad you like.
That was so good.
I'm glad you picked up.
We just got that though. We just
They just got it. Oh my god, it's so good. Jules, by the way, I hope you've been enjoying this.
Yeah, it's great.
I know we didn't speak about the whole stuff with, like, we have, like you said, 10 minutes.
Okay.
Like, what feels like the best way for you to kind of bring this home in terms of what are some things that maybe we didn't touch on yet that are really close to your heart?
I don't know. Kind of like,
Is there anything that's coming up right away or not really? We've kind of just been flowing, which I've loved.
yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of just,
I actually have a question for you.
okay.
So you've been building this audience online for a while, right? For pretty much what, the last 7 or 8 years?
Like a decade, honestly.
Okay. So you've been building this online audience on social media for the last decade, and without knowing so much about your background and like that whole entire journey, I'm curious to know how you approach showing up authentically and also like staying on brand, right? Because I'm sure, especially early on, like a lot of your following was grown because of your appearance and your attractiveness and those types of things. It's like the surface level. It's the physical material world. And as you go on this journey where you're just diving way deeper and you're peeling back the layers, I'm wondering how you kind of approach communicating those messages with your audience.
You know what's crazy? Because like, I never really thought about it much. Like, the most that I think about it at this point is like Instagram's pushing reels, and I feel like I'm shadow banned because I never post reels. So let me make more reels. But I've always been like a Snapchat girly. So it's always been in the moment, stuff that is here today, gone tomorrow, or in a few days now. You can leave it up for a week, right? So I never really premeditated much on my content, except for if I had like a Puma deal or whatever, and I'm like, oh, I have to wear this outfit and take pictures, or, you know, Tommy Hilfiger. Like, I honestly never really liked, if I'm being honest, those kinds of deals much because it required too much planning. And I'm not like, I just want to live my life and get paid to do it.
Yeah.
And so I'm in a space right now where I'm doing that. I have 0 brand deals. I would like some, but I'm happy to not have any deliverables. And I'm making money on Snapchat because of their creator platform. I'm able to cover my bills with that. I could have double if I went and got brand deals right now, but I promised myself I wouldn't because I want to stay authentic to where I am. And I don't know where I am right now. Like, I'm in a big transition, you know? And in the beginning of this whole journey, I'm like, oh, you know, I'm a mom now. I want to listen to different lyrics like that uplift women or whatever. But like today I just posted some pictures of me at the Heat game with a Future song where he's very much not uplifting women. But like sometimes I just want to get ratchet, you know, and like a part of me is like, oh, you know, I want to elevate and I want to dress like this and, you know, give that like grown and sexy vibe. And then like other times I'm like, I feel good in my body and I want to show off my ass.
Yeah.
You know, and like that's what's authentic to me. So like,
and that's being multidimensional too.
Yeah, you know, so like for me, I'm very comfortable in my skin. I'm very comfortable in my sexuality. I'm aware of that being like a kind of pillar of my brand for however long that it has been. Maybe it'll continue to be, maybe it won't. I've tried to like set boundaries for myself and like, you know, kind of like put myself in a new box or whatever. And I don't know, I find that like I just do what feels good in the moment. And if I ever change my mind, I just delete stuff. Or like, you know, I throw away my old clothes and start fresh or whatever. I think it's probably not been the best for me. I think I could be in a different space. I would have hit 1 million followers by now. I would have probably been working for like a clean network like CBS or something like that if I would have smoked less weed, wore more clothing, swore less, you know, just been a little bit less authentic, and more strategic and calculated. But like, I just don't think that's my journey.
That's not you though.
It's not. And I've tried.
Yeah.
It just doesn't last long.
Yeah.
So
you
like,
working at CBS, just mainstream media is fucking obsolete and insignificant.
Or MTV or whatever. Like, I'm a liability sometimes, you know, I'm going to speak my mind. I'm going to say things that sometimes like people might not agree with. I'm going to work with artists that are controversial because I value the art and the message more so sometimes than like how it might make people feel with their delivery. You know, I lost a lot of friends working with Kanye this year.
Can you just briefly talk about that? Because I have like, you mentioned that when I saw you.
I see you're Jewish. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was hard for me with my Jewish friends in community this year, given the remarks that were made by him in certain moments where I was present. You know, people very rightfully so were like, hey, how can you work with a guy that says those things or stand next? And it's like, you know.
What was the working capacity that were you guys collaborating on a project or what?
Ye very much like myself, so I can understand where he comes from with this. He is it's like all or nothing kind of guy. So it's like you could be hired for digital marketing and you're like an agent the next day or like pretty much day-to-day manager or like, you know, I did a number of things, helped oversee a number of projects. Really proud to say that I was leading the marketing team in the era where he got his first #1 single in 15 years, in a time where he was supposed to be canceled. So yeah, I did a lot. And I always felt like he really went to bat for me with his own team, who would always usually try to bring me down, or other people in the industry who'd be like, why are you working with YesJulz's? You could hire like anybody to do this, right? And he just saw something in me, you know, so. And I obviously, who doesn't, see something in him. And, you know, for me, like, I always thought that, like, he was going through a really tough time and maybe some of the things that he was, like, saying or doing would fix themselves, you know, and that if he just had the right people around to help, like, lead him in that way or be an example of compassion and love and forgiveness, that he would come around and, you know, make different decisions. But yeah, I don't know, maybe I wasn't always right, you know, but I do have hope that that will be the case for him. And I do think that I just can't put myself in his shoes. He's dealt with so much, and I understand sometimes, because of my proximity to the situations that I've seen him deal with, why he may think or say some of the things that he does, although they're not right and although they're not delivered well or fair at all, and they could be very harmful. So yeah, I just tried to hold space, but that really like cost me some great friendships and brand partnerships and relationships. And in the end, he did really end up hurting my feelings and embarrassing me. And, you know, karma came and got me for not having better boundaries and kind of like being more stern about, like, instead of waiting for him to like come around, I should have been like, hey, no, what you're saying is wrong. I'm not going to sit around if you continue to go about delivering your message in this way. But I was like, I wasn't ready to take that stand at that moment yet, you know? And I'm a single mother going through some legal stuff with my kid, and I needed the money to pay my bills. You know what I mean? There's a lot that goes into why I was there and why I stayed, et cetera. But at the end of the day, I always had faith, and he's, you know, been my favorite artist for a very long time. And I feel truthfully that music is like the language that the whole world speaks, and that the artists that deliver that message and speak that language of music are some of the most important leaders in our world for that reason. And if I could have anything to do with just helping influence one of our greatest leaders to go back to the light and deliver that message of love and self-love and undying confidence and authenticity that got me to fall in love with his music and message in the first place, that I would be doing a great service to the world. And so, you know, now I'm in a space where like I still feel that way, and I want to help facilitate in a different way now, like maybe hold space for artists to do the work on themselves that they need to do to get back to that message. But not so much like stamp the message that they currently have, right? So I'm figuring out where my journey is going to take me next. I know that music is what kept me going as a child. Like, as I said, when I was like hopping around from home to home, it's like the one thing, you know, like it's like famous that like when you go from place to place, you get a trash bag as like a foster kid, right? But like I had my Walkman and my CD cases, and I didn't really need much else. And that was like Lauryn Hill, Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, like Destiny's Child, TLC.
Yes.
These are the outcasts. Like these are the people, Erykah Badu, that like I grew up listening to. These were my leaders. And so they inspired me to hold love, forgive, hold space, be confident in myself, etc. And I just think music is so important. So I know it's always going to be a big part of who I am and what I do professionally. And I'm just trying to let God lead me to what that next thing within music and entertainment is. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's an amazing life experience, though, to have the opportunity to work with him and just kind of see how he moves.
So much just from being around. Yeah. I mean, he's an incredible mind and an incredible detriment to himself. So I've learned from what he does right, and I've learned from what he does wrong too. And I've learned my limits, that there really are none, that I could do anything I put my mind to. Like I could get anything done. And I would have never really been able to like exercise or discover some of the skills that I have if I hadn't been trusted by him to carry out some of the outrageous tasks that I was given, you know? So like, I had no idea how commercials were made or bought or done before working with him. And then all of a sudden it was my job to get a Super Bowl ad. And I tapped into my network and made the calls and Googled and researched and talked to all the agencies and got the quotes and got us down to the best possible package. And, you know, now when I start my clothing line, like I know how to do digital ads, influencer ads, like Google ads, a commercial on TV, on streaming, you name it. And these are things like I know what things cost at that level, you know, like budgets that I never would have worked with before. I mean, just you name it. Like I've been in touch with the UN in Uganda. Like I was tasked with buying the Regal Theater in Chicago. I'm like, I've never even bought an apartment. Like, you know what I mean? Like this was like
That's
before I had
so
done things.
cool.
So just, yeah, I'm really grateful, you know, and it hurts like sometimes the way things ended, but I wouldn't change a thing, honestly.
Yeah. And I'm not really sure how things ended, and we don't even necessarily need to share that. Maybe people can.
I'm pretty sure everyone. I mean, like, he fired me on Instagram, like on his Instagram.
Really?
Yeah.
Like he just called you out on his.
He was basically like, YesJulz no longer works with Yeezy, and nothing she's done was authorized by Yeezy, which was not true because I only did what I was told. But, you know.
Was it like a story, a live stream?
It was a post. But it was up for 2 seconds and then it was gone. So I still to this day don't even know if it was actually him or if it was somebody that works for him that really hated me that I feel the same way about. But who knows? Who cares? Like, it led me to being in the best place that I'm in 34 years of life.
Yeah, you seem to look back at that experience with like a lot of love and appreciation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as a Jew, to be honest, I think having a brother who has bipolar manic makes me more understanding of people who suffer with that. And, you know, I think Kanye is just such a brilliant artist. And that documentary series on Netflix was just so inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my gosh. And I don't think he actually hates Jews, honestly, but
he doesn't.
Either whatever, like anti-Semitism is so real and prevalent, especially right now. But yeah, like my read on Kanye is probably he's not anti-Semitic and just said some stupid shit. But anyways, I want to just acknowledge you. I've really, really enjoyed connecting. I hope you've enjoyed this time as well. Yeah. And I'm really glad in this season of setting boundaries and saying no, you said yes to this podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad I did too. It was great to talk with you. Yeah.
And I just want to acknowledge you also for just walking in your truth and really trusting God in this journey that's been so beautiful for you, that's opened up so many doors, that's created so much impact. And I really think you're just getting started.
You know, it's crazy to think that, like, having done so much and had such a long journey of ups and lots of downs already. But like, when I look at some of my favorite people in the world, they did not even start their big thing until like they were in their 40s. So I just hold on to that. I'm like, all right, that's why I'm not in a rush right now. I'm like, I don't know what's next, but it's going to be amazing. And I'm not in a rush to get there.
Such a good mindset to have. And that's also something that I think is really positive that you're doing. Rather than just jumping into the next project, you're actually giving yourself the space to cultivate clarity on what you actually want to call in, like what feels most aligned at this chapter of your life.
I'm very grateful to have the financial means to be able to do that. Because I understand that, like, you know, not too long ago, I wouldn't have that ability. Like, I would be doing things, taking on gigs for Art Basel, et cetera, that don't align just because you gotta eat, you gotta take care of the bills, right? But I'm blessed right now to be able to just like have that stability to where I can be in this space. So I know that it's not possible for everyone, but in whichever way you can, if you're in like a transition, allowing yourself that time and space to like really see where you land before you start something new is so important.
Yeah.
Very key.
And the last thing I just want to acknowledge you for is just the way that you're showing up for yourself and the way that you're showing up for your daughter. It's really, really inspiring. And, you know, I think River is very grateful and appreciative to have you as her mom. And I'm just excited to cultivate a relationship with you and see how we can collaborate and co-create more impact, more health, more healing in the world and the Miami community. And
first of many things I think we'll do together.
Let's go. Yes, Jules. Any final words? Any final words?
I got to get to my baby before bedtime.
All right.
Final words. The world would be a better place if we all did what we love every day. So find a way to do that.
And if we all did mushrooms. Much love, everybody. Peace. You did it. You made it to the end of the podcast. I am so proud of you for pursuing this path of becoming the best version of yourself. Now, if this episode provided you value, then all I ask is that you share it with a friend and check out some of our other episodes, because my mission is to really bring you the best people in the world so you can become the most elevated version of yourself. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I can't wait to see you next time.